Tom Brady gets the best of Aaron Rodgers in Sunday Night Football. The Patriots beat the Packers 31-17. I'm Trags, joined by Evan Lazar, as always, inside Gillette Stadium. How about the job Cordarrelle Patterson did, not catching the ball, but running the ball, 61 yards, and he had a key touchdown in this game on the ground.
It was good to see that happen. Last week, obviously, we saw them really struggle on the ground without Sony Michel. I wasn't really so sure the running game was even going to be a factor until Michel got back. Patterson, he basically got the yards that were there, but more or less that was all he needed to do. A lot of runs on the perimeter that I thought were really using his skill set to the best of his abilities. I just think that he's enough right now. The Patriots really, Bill Belichick talking about it, never expected really to have to use Cordarrelle Patterson at running back. It was really just an emergency thing. Not that he's done it in the past and all that kind of stuff in Oakland, but it wasn't really something that they thought they were going to have to pull out because they had so much depth at running back. But he ends up having to do that with Jeremy Hill and Rex Burkhead and Sony going down with all those injuries. And he did the job tonight.
And Tom Brady told me after the game when I asked him about Cordarrelle Patterson, did you see this in practice, this potential? He said, yeah, because nobody has worked harder in terms of being versatile in our offense than Cordarrelle Patterson, starting in training camp and all the way through the season. Let's talk about James White. 2 more touchdowns on the ground. Obviously, no Sony Michel in this game, no Rob Gronkowski. James White, we figured, would have a big role, and he did.
Yeah, he's up to 61 catches on the season already, which I think is already a career high. Yep. I mean, this guy has, and he really can't really put a finger on what it is that has kind of made him elevate his game, but he is really coming to his own as one of the better pass-catching running backs in the league this year, and he's probably the best pass-catching running back besides maybe an Alvin Kamara or someone like that, that, is also very good at it. But one guy I do want to highlight before we move on from the running game, James Devlin, the fullback. I think a lot of people give him a lot of love, but he deserves all the love. And Cordarrelle Patterson told me tonight that when he's running the football, he wants James Devlin on the field. He wants him in front of him because he just makes it so much easier. He reads the blocks well. He delivers good blocks in his own right, and he really, leads the way, that runway for these running backs, especially a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson, who's not necessarily going to be very shifty in the hole or find those reads very easily because he's not really used to doing it. So I think that James Devlin has really been a key for both James White, Cordarrelle Patterson, and even Sony Michel, I'm sure, would say the same thing.
No Rob Gronkowski, we mentioned earlier, but there was Josh Gordon. 130 yards receiving and the game-breaking 55-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we're seeing with Josh Gordon is that I asked the receivers coach, Josh Boyer, about this when we had the availability with the Patriots coaches, and I said, can you remember a guy picking up the offense and getting a rapport with Brady this quickly, mid-season? This isn't something that started in training camp. Like, he's comes in mid-season, and him and Brady, especially on those slant routes, I mean, obviously the 55-yarder will get all the run on the highlight reels, but the slant routes are just, they're so automatic, and the chemistry there is just unbelievable, both, the timing and just the precision of that route. I find it very hard to believe that he's been able to just kind of jump into this offense so quickly, and I think that speaks to his football IQ, to be honest.
All right. In this game, after the game, I asked Josh Gordon about his compete level, and he says, look, when you're playing with Tom Brady, you can't help but go up and fight for the football, and that's what I've been doing. And Tom Brady said the same thing, that Josh Gordon's compete level has been outstanding. And I think, to your point, Evan, that's one big reason the two have developed a chemistry. As we wrap it up, you have to talk about the defense in this game, holding Aaron Rodgers and company to just 17 points. Bill Belichick effusive after the game, not just about Aaron Rodgers, but the job his defensive front did in keeping after number 12 of Green Bay.
Yeah, I thought this was the best pass rush performance besides that Houston game, which kind of has the caveat of that Houston offensive line being pretty terrible. So this was the best defensive game the Patriots have played this season. We've played a great game against Miami, but that's Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins. This was Aaron Rodgers here tonight. And this defense, for all the people on the outside of the stadium that say this defense is no good, they have no talent on that side of the ball, they answered a lot of critics here tonight. And two things that they kind of credited to are, one, a lot of disguising both in the front seven and the back end, really made a chess match with Aaron Rodgers, and it kind of slowed down the Packers' process. And the other thing was just like kind of what you said was the compete level. Every single play that the Packers made was contested. Every catch, every run, everything that they did was, a struggle in some regards. And there's always somebody there. There's a defensive back draped all over a receiver, and the receiver had to make a contested catch, or Aaron Rodgers had to fit it into a tight window. I mean, even the touchdown that they give up to Jimmy Graham, Patrick Chung was right on his back. You know, that was a contested catch situation. So I think that was the biggest thing that stood out to me, was that every single play, nothing was easy. And this defense in the past, to go back to that Kansas City game, for example, the Detroit game, there's been some easy yards on the field for the opponent. Tonight, there was none.
All right, the Patriots 7-2. They are now on a 6-game winning streak. They have the Tennessee Titans in Nashville next week before their bye, and then they play the Jets on the road before coming back to play the Minnesota Vikings in their next home game, which isn't until the first week of December. Patriots win it again 31-17 in Sunday Night Football. He's Evan Lazar. I'm Mike Petralia, CLNS Media.